Today we'll be learning how to subtract mixed numbers. Please copy down the standard benchmark indicator on a clean page in your math notebook. The student will solve problems with subtracting mixed numbers with like and unlike denominators. Subtracting mixed numbers. Just as you can subtract whole numbers and fractions, you can subtract mixed numbers. If the fraction to be subtracted is larger than the other fraction, you must rename part of the whole number as a fraction. It's basically borrowing with fractions. Remember that 1 equals a fraction with the same number as the numerator and the denominator. So in example 1, they want us to rename 4 and 2/3 as 3 and a fraction here. So we're going to rename 4 as 3 and 3/3 because 3 over 3 equals 1. So that's why the 4 becomes 3 and 3/3. Then we add the 2/3 from the original mixed number. So we get 3 plus 3/3 plus 2/3. So we get 3 and 5/3. To do some of the subtracting, you are going to need improper fractions. So 4 and 2/3 also equals 3 and 5/3. So we're going to try it with problems A through C and rename each number. So we have 2 and 4/5. So the first thing we've done is we've borrowed 1 whole from the 2, and we're going to turn that into 5/5. Now we're going to take that 5/5 and we're going to add it to the 4/5. And then that 9/5 is going to go back up with the mixed number with the 1 we have there, so we get 1 and 9/5 as our final answer. So 1 and 9/5 means the same thing as 2 and 4/5. For B, we have 10 and 1/2, so they borrowed 1 whole from the 10, so we drop it down to 9. That 1 whole equals 2 halves. Then we're going to add the original 1/2 from the 10 and 1/2. So now we have 3 halves as a fraction, so that's going to now go back up with the 9. So now instead of 10 and 1/2, we have 9 and 3/2. For C, we have 16 and 5/8. So we're going to take 1 whole away from it, so that 1 whole is going to equal 8/8. Then we're going to add the 5/5 from the original mixed number. So that equals 13/8. So our answer becomes 15 and 13/8. Example 2. Subtract 8 and 1/3 minus 2 and 5/6. Write the answer as a whole or mixed number in lowest terms. So the first step is to rewrite the fractions using the least common denominator. So in this case, that's 6. So 8 and 1/3 becomes 8 and 2/6, and 2 and 5/6 stays as it is. Now we can't subtract 5/6 from 2/6, so we have to borrow from the 8, so it becomes 7, and then they add the 6/6 for the one that they borrowed, plus the 2/6, we get 7 and 8/6. Then they've rewritten the problem here. So then we have 7 minus 2 is 5, 8/6 minus 5/6 is 3/6. Then you write the answer in lowest terms, so 5 and 3/6 becomes 5 and 1/2. So 8 and 1/3 minus 2 and 5/6 equals 5 and 1/2. So for the try it here, we're going to subtract and write each difference as a whole or mixed number in lowest terms. So for problem D, we have 7 and 1/5 minus 2 and 3/5. So the first thing we check is that the fractions have a common denominator, which they do, so we don't have to change either one for that. However, we can't take 3/5 away from 1/5, so we have to rename 7 and 1/5. So we're going to take 1 whole away from the 7, and that whole becomes 5/5. We add it to the 1/5, so we're going to get 6 and 6/5 as our renamed mixed number. Then we rewrite our problem vertically, and we can subtract the whole number, so 6 minus 2 is 4. Then we subtract the fractions. 6/5 minus 3/5 is 3/5. And then we write the complete answer with the whole number and the fractions. We get 4 and 3/5 as our difference. For problem A, we have 14 and 3/5 minus 7 and 3/10. So the first thing we need to do is rewrite 14 and 3/5 so that the 3/5 is in tenths, so it's going to become 14 and 6/10. And if we look, we do not have to borrow from the 14, so all we have to do is subtract. 14 minus 7 is 7. And 6/10 minus 3/10 is 3/10. So our answer becomes 7 and 3/10. For F, we have a common denominator to start with, but we can't subtract 3/4 from 1/4. So we're going to have to borrow from the 6. So we take a whole away, so the 6 becomes a 5. And that whole is 4/4. So we're going to add it to the 1/4. So we're going to get 5 and 5/4. Now we can subtract. 5 minus 2 is 3. 5/4 minus 3/4 is 2/4. Then we know 2/4 can simplify to 1/2, so our answer is 3 and 1/2. For G, we have 9 and 2/3 and 5 and 3/4. So the first thing we have to do is rewrite both fractions up to 12ths. So we're going to get 9 and 8/12 and 5 and 9/12. Now, if we look at that, we know you can't subtract 9 from 8. So we're going to have to borrow from the 9. So it's going to become 8. And we're going to take that whole, turn it into 12/12, add it to the 8, which gets us 8 and 20/12. Now we're going to subtract the whole numbers. 8 minus 5 is 3. And 20/12 minus 9/12 is 11/12. So our answer is 3 and 11/12, and that cannot be simplified any further, so it stays as it is. For H, we have an interesting problem here because we don't have a fraction on the first number. We just have 10 minus 3 and 5/6. So the first thing we're going to do is borrow from the 10 and turn it into 9 and 6/6, so we can create a fraction that can be subtracted from. Now we can subtract. 9 minus 3 is 6. 6/6 minus 5/6 is 1/6. So our answer is 6 and 1/6. For I, we have 5 and 7/8 minus 2 and 1/4. So the first thing we have to do is get the 2 and 1/4 into eighths. So it's become 2 and 2/8. Now we can subtract. 5 minus 2 is 3. 7/8 minus 2/8 is 5/8. So our answer is 3 and 5/8, which cannot be simplified any further. J, We have 8 1/5 minus 7 3/4. So the first thing we have to do is get both fractions in a common denominator, which is going to be 20. So we're going to get 8 4/20 minus 7 15/20. So we know we can't subtract 15 from 4, so we're going to have to borrow from the 8. So it's going to be turned into 7. And then that whole is going to be 20/20. So we're going to add it to the 4/20. So we're going to get 7 24/20. We know if 7 minus 7 is 0, so we don't need to put the 0, so we're just subtracting the fractions now. 24 minus 15 is 9, so our answer is 9/20. Please make sure you've copied down all of your work and glue this page in your math notebook.